Good morning. It's great to have you with us at Kirkpatrick Memorial. My name is Christoph Ebbinghaus. I'm the minister at the church there. It really is great to have you with us because it's easy to be tempted to give up on these online services. The writer to the Hebrews, he encouraged the audience he was writing to not to give up meeting together. I don't know what he would have made of YouTube services that we watch in our living rooms. But I'm sure you can see that it's important to keep coming to meet with God, to keep paying attention to His Word, to keep singing His praises, to keep receiving from Him. It's great to have you with us here this morning. Please make sure that you're watching this service as a playlist and not as a series of individual videos. I wonder how you're doing this morning. How are you feeling after more than 5 months in the COVID-19 world? People tell me that they're feeling up and down. Some days they feel good, and other days they feel down, joyless, wondering where the strength is going to come from. I wonder how they're going to keep going for one more day. In the book of Nehemiah, we read of a time when God's people were more down than up. They'd been in exile, they'd returned to a ruined city, they were being oppressed by their neighbours. Things weren't good. Nehemiah, the governor, and Ezra, the priest, spoke to the people of God, and they said to them, "This day is sacred to the Lord your God. Do not mourn or weep." The people had been mourning and weeping. They'd heard God's law read, and they'd realized just how far they'd fallen short. Nehemiah didn't stop, though. He kept going. He said to the people, "Go and enjoy choice food and sweet drinks. Do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength." Maybe you've heard that phrase before. The joy of the Lord is your strength. What does it mean? Well, thank goodness Nehemiah's not talking here about our human joy. There's nothing worse than somebody coming along to you when you're feeling down and saying, "Cheer up, put a smile on your face." We don't have to whip up this type of joy within ourselves by our own power. This joy comes from somewhere else, from someone else, the Lord. It's the joy of the Lord. We're talking here about the joy that God has, the joy that God possesses. Can you even begin to imagine how much joy God has? The Bible tells us repeatedly about God's joy, and one of the things that I find amazing is how much of God's joy centers on us. In Hebrews 12, the writer tells us that Jesus endured the cross for the joy set before him. That is for a relationship with you and with me. The prophet Zephaniah, he tells us that God rejoices over us with singing. When he thinks of you, God sings. Have you ever thought about that? Being in a relationship with you makes God happy. Doesn't that make you happy too? This week, as we follow Jesus, we have access to God's boundless joy. A joy that doesn't come from our circumstances or within ourselves. A joy that doesn't depend on how spiritual or strong we are. A joy that comes from God. It's the joy of the Lord. And it's our strength.